This podcast is a production of the Salem Podcast Network. For more podcasts like this from courageous voices of conservative reason, visit salempodcastnetwork.com.
Larry Elder here, the sage from South Central, the Prince of Pico Union, the Czar of Common Sense, the great Eldersky, Don Lorenzo. Welcome to the program. No Victocrats allowed because we've got a country to save. So let's get her teed up!
You want to play rock? Say hello to my little friend!
What the hell's going on out here?
Ooh, that's a bingo.
888-971-SAGE. 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. So much to get to between now and the close of the program. The California recall of Gavin Newsom election is set for September 14. One more time, it is a two-step deal. First step is, do you want Gavin Newsom recalled? Second step is, if you do, whom do you want to replace him? More on this. Just 36% of young Americans say they're proud to be an American. They're not leaving. They're just not proud. Utah Black Lives Matter activist says the American flag is a symbol of hatred. Oh. They're not going to have any spectators at the Olympics. At least not in person. I'll probably be watching on television. I guess you don't have to mask up when you're watching on TV, right? Hillary Clinton said, and I'm quoting her, "We are witnessing a concerted attempt to destabilize the democratic process," close quote, says a woman who for 4 years referred to Donald Trump as illegitimate, as having stolen the election, convinced two-thirds of Democrats falsely that the Russians changed vote tallies, convinced 78% of Democrats that the Russian activity altered the outcome of the election, even though the intel report said no such thing. And she's accusing Donald Trump and the Republicans of a concerted attempt to destabilize the democratic process. CNN says fossil fuels kill more people each year than the Holocaust. Yo, CNN, how many lives do fossil fuels save every year? Just asking. They're always telling you how many people die through gun violence, never tell you how many people are alive because he or she was able to get a gun and break off an attack. But I digress. Guess which restaurant has been chosen the top fast food restaurant in the nation? Mr. McConnell, care to hazard a guess? He said, I saw the prep. Oh, so you're not going to BS me and act as if that you knew we were on top of things? You don't do that. No, I don't do that. Well, I'll tell you later on. Stick around for that. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver continues to defend the relationship with the NBA. Says, we can work with them and help to modify, help to work out some of the. You're willing to work with the NBA, but the left hates Republicans. I not quite understand. You're willing to work with China, communist China, to work things out, but the left hates Republicans. Republicans are trying to destabilize the democratic process, but we're working with China in order to, help bring about change. The American Federation of Teachers Secretary Treasurer says, teaching critical race theory is about understanding the, quote, full depth of the American society. May I mention a stat that I came across the other day? This is from Tom Sowell, who's still with us. It's an article about Tom Sowell in a publication called tabletmag.com. And the headline is The Noble Lies of New Race Politics. Subheadline, individual and group differences are real, so is inequality. The contrarian black intellectual Thomas Sowell, who turns 91 today, showed us the way to understand and remedy both. And in the article, it's a long article. Won't bore you with it, but listen to this. Quote, Sowell says the media's favorite shocking statistic that average black household wealth is about $140,000, while white household wealth is $900,000, is seriously misleading, since almost the entire divergence is in the top 10% of black and white households, i.e., within that elite that now styles itself as woke. Listen to this. Within the lower 50% of households, the gap between black households in the lower 50% and white households in the lower 50% is 3%. Oh, even Mr. McConnell looked up on that one. Media's favorite shocking stat. The average black household wealth is about $140,000, while the white household wealth is $900,000. Seriously misleading, since almost the entire gap is in the top 10%. Within the lower 50% of households, blacks in the lower 50%, whites in the lower 50%, the household gap is only 3%. Just saying. Now, Donald Trump is filing a class action lawsuit against Google, Twitter, and Facebook, and referred to their CEOs as three nice guys.
For you this morning to announce a very important and very beautiful, I think, development for our freedom and our freedom of speech, and that goes to all Americans. Today, in conjunction with the America First Policy Institute, I'm filing as the lead class representative a major class action lawsuit against the big tech giants, including Facebook, Google, and Twitter, as well as their CEOs, Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai, and Jack Dorsey. Three real nice guys.
Three real nice guys.
We're asking the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida to order an immediate halt to social media companies' illegal, shameful censorship of the American people, and that's exactly what they are doing. We're demanding an end to the shadow banning, a stop to the silencing, and a stop to the blacklisting, banishing, and canceling that you know so well. Our case will prove this censorship is unlawful, it's unconstitutional, and it's completely un-American. We all know that. We all know that very, very well. Our filing also seeks injunctive relief to allow prompt restitution and really restoration, and you can name about 20 other things, and it has to be prompt because it's destroying our country. Of my accounts, in addition, we are asking the court to impose punitive damages on these social media giants. We're going to hold big tech very accountable. This is the first of numerous other lawsuits, I assume, that would follow, but this is the lead, and I think it's going to be a very, very important game changer for our country. It will be a pivotal battle in the defense of the First Amendment, and in the end, I am confident that we will achieve a historic victory for American freedom and, at the same time, freedom of speech.
Now, I have not read the lawsuit. I don't know what the grounds are. I've told you before, I believe these are private companies if they want to behave in a stupid way, and I believe that this is stupid for their own bottom line. I think they have a right to do that, but maybe he's arguing that they've breached their contract. Maybe he's arguing that they've breached their promise to put your media on unless you say or do something that they deem to be in violation of their standards. And maybe Trump is arguing that saying that the election is stolen is not in violation of anybody's standards, especially since Hillary has been saying it for over 4 years. Hillary has convinced 2/3 of the American people falsely that the Russians changed vote tallies, convinced 78% of Democrats that the Russian interference changed the outcome of the election, even though the intel community says no such thing. But Hillary has not been shut down. Maybe that's the basis of his argument. I really don't know. I haven't read it. But Alan Dershowitz thinks it has a shot. And John Yoo, also a law professor at Berkeley, also thinks it has a shot. All of that and more. We're also going to be talking about the growing crime and the brazen stealing, not just at low-end stores, but at Neiman Marcus. All of a sudden now, why should I steal stuff down there? Well, if they're going to let me get away with it, I'll steal something that costs even more. Oakland police chief, angry at the crime, talking about millions of dollars being cut away from his department as crime is going up. And I made an appearance on the Joe Piscopo show. I'm going to have that for you as well. All of that and more. I'm Larry Elder. Larry Elder here again with a message for anyone struggling with pain, like I struggle with for years. And of course, I want you to know about Relief Factor, the 100% drug-free supplement that tens of thousands are now taking every day. Obviously, I'm taking it every day because I like being out of pain. But I know you may be skeptical just like I was. But then I kept hearing about all the people who are no longer in pain, so I decided to give it a try. In fact, listen to Janice's story.
I was skeptical at first, but because of the pain that I was having when I would substitute teach and have to climb stairs, so I have lower back, hip, and even knee pain. And after about 3 weeks, I found that I could climb stairs pain-free. But it wasn't only pain-free, I could do it step over step without holding on the railing. I'm really happy. It makes me feel like I'm young again.
That's ReliefFactor.com or call 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
Call the Larry Elder Show now at 888-971-SAGE. That's 888-971-7243. El Dorado's Let Larry Know What's on Your Mind.
Hi, Larry. I live in Lodi, California, and they knocked on my grandmother's door 3 weeks ago. We told them no thank you, we didn't need the shot, and we shut the door. 2 weeks later, they came back and asked her again. Thank you very much.
In today's briefing, we discussed how our administration is going to devote the remainder of the summer to a special focus on 5 ways to make gains in getting those of you who are unvaccinated vaccinated. Because here's the deal. We are continuing to wind down the mass vaccination sites that did so much in the spring to rapidly vaccinate those eager to get their first shot and their second shot, for that matter, if they needed a second. Now we need to go to community by community, neighborhood by neighborhood, and oftentimes door to door, literally.
By the end of the week, the United States will be nearing 160 million people fully vaccinated, which the president will touch on today as well, which is critically important as fully vaccinated people are protected against the Delta variant. He will also stress how the administration will continue its effort to work with governors, local leaders, and across the public and private sector to get more Americans vaccinated by making vaccines available in more healthcare settings and respond to hotspots. The president will outline 5 areas his team is focused on to get more Americans vaccinated. 1, targeted community-by-community, door-to-door outreach.
888-971-SAGE, 971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Honestly, really? Door to door.
Anyway, 0-2.
Now, regarding the lawsuit that President Trump is filing against the social media platforms, here's what Alan Dershowitz said about it.
The First Amendment doesn't only protect the speaker, Donald Trump. It protects you and me, the listener, the viewer. And what's happening now is big tech is depriving us, the American citizens, of the right to hear and see information, because if it's banned from the social media, we have no access to it. And that's why this is such an important case involving every citizen. And it's not only President Trump's been banned. I've been banned. I had a debate with Bobby Kennedy. Here you have 2 liberal Democrats debating. I debated in favor of more vigorous vaccination. He was more skeptical of vaccination. They took down the debate. They didn't like what he said, so they took down the debate. And they deprived the American public of the right to see a very thoughtful educational debate. And they're doing it more and more, and if they're not stopped, this will be the end of freedom of speech as we know it, because these companies now control the marketplace of ideas.
Now, when I was in law school, I remember studying what might very well be an analogy. Supermarket malls, shopping malls. Shopping malls are, of course, privately owned, but because they were perceived to be so integral to the community, they were almost like a community public square. And so the owners of malls could not ban people from coming in and holding up placards expressing political views one way or the other, according to many Supreme Court decisions. And here's what Professor John Yoo said about all of this.
I don't know why President Trump wants to be back in the Supreme Court again. It hasn't been the happy place for him. But it would be ironic because in the past he's gone there to fight for the powers of the presidency, to defend himself from attacks from Congress. This time he might go there to defend the free speech rights of all Americans. And the reason I say that is because, yes, under current law, it might be the case that Facebook, Google, and Twitter are private companies. And as the Supreme Court has reminded us just this month, if you're a private property owner, you have the right to exclude whoever you want from your property. And so if that's the case, Facebook, Twitter, and Google can keep people off their networks, just like you and I can keep any stranger or any person off our property. But it could be different if we analogize these new networks to railroads, to airlines, to what we call common carriers, people who aren't allowed to discriminate because they have such enormous monopoly power. They play such an important role in the public interest that the Constitution does allow the government to require that they're open to everybody.
Now, John Yoo was in the administration of George W. Bush, so-called author of the torture memo when he served in the Office of Legal Counsel and talked about enhanced interrogation techniques being legal. He is an extremely sharp guy. And you heard the argument he made. He made this might very well be analogous to what I said, like a shopping mall or airlines, railroads, something like that. Alan Dershowitz says that big tech is depriving the Americans of the right to see certain kind of information. So this is going to be a very, very interesting lawsuit. Of course, I will keep you posted. Now, all of this critical race theory nonsense. One of the proposals has been to set up a commission to study reparations, as you know. Well, the UK set up a commission, England, on, quote, race and ethnic disparities. And they put out a report. Did you hear about it? Came out several weeks ago. And the reason you didn't hear about it is because the people on the left did not like their findings. And their findings is pretty much what I've told you about America. Yes, there are racists, but is the system deliberately rigged against ethnic minorities? And this report for the UK said no. Main findings were, and I'm quoting, children from ethnic minority communities did as well or better than white pupils in compulsory education, with black Caribbean pupils the only group to perform less well. The success in education has, quote, transformed British society over the last 50 years into one offering far greater opportunities for all. The pay gap between all ethnic minorities and white majority population has shrunk to 2.3% overall and was barely significant for employees under 30. Diversity has increased in professions such as law and medicine. And the chairman is a guy named Tony Sewell, who's black, and of course is being hammered as a UT. He's an education consultant, ex-charity boss, and here's what he said, quote, we no longer see a Britain where the system is deliberately rigged against ethnic minorities. Impediments and disparities do exist, he said. But he also said one of the big factors, family structure. Hello, is this thing on? That you grow up without a father, you're far likely to have success than if you do. Boris Johnson, when the report came out, said it was right. And the report has been hammered by the left. The author of the paper, this Dr. Sewell, said there was anecdotal evidence of racism, but there was no proof that there was institutional racism, end of quote. And he said one of the big problems is the lack of fathers in the home. And he said that accounts for much of the gaps that people talk about. This is not unlike what I've been saying. Maybe they heard my show and just kind of... Now, this is not going to make a whole lot of people happy, but I put it up on the Larry Elder website, larryelder.com. Race report, UK not deliberately rigged against ethnic minorities. You read it. It applies to our society as well. Family structure, social class had a bigger impact on race and how people's lives turned out. Family structure. Hello? Did I mention family structure? Did I say family structure? I'm Larry Elder. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation helps us keep our commitment to never forget. Larry Elder here. This year, the foundation is honoring Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children and catastrophically injured veterans and first responders with 200 mortgage-free homes. Chairman and CEO Frank Siller is paying tribute to the fallen by walking from the Pentagon to Shanksville and on to Ground Zero. More than 500 miles through 6 states in 42 days, the month of August through 9/11. Towers of light are to shine at the Pentagon and Shanksville memorials in remembrance. The names of those we lost to 9/11 related illness are being read aloud at a ceremony on September the 12th. And on Veterans Day, the names of all we lost in the War on Terror will also be said out loud. Do good and help America to never forget. Donate $11 a month to Tunnels to Towers at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T, the number 2T.org.
I got my mind set on you. I got my mind set on you. I got my mind set on you. Got my mind set on you.
Larry's father, Staff Sergeant Randolph Elder, says hard work wins. You get out of life what you put into it. And now, here's Larry Elder.
Larry, the idea of you running for governor is something that I was mulling the other day, and I love the idea. I would be a big supporter, and the tune for your campaign should be Merle Haggard's Walking on the Fighting Side of Me. I can see it now. God bless you.
Hi, Larry. This is a very big fan of yours for many years when I met your mother at the convention center in Long Beach. But you've been always I'm a fan of yours. So go for it, and we'll get you elected here as much as I can. Good luck, son. You're the best. You're so honest and so interesting to listen to. And good luck.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. You could be paying a lot less for your home every month. This really is a true statement because there are still some loan programs with rates in the twos, but they will not be this low forever. So you have to take action right now. So call American Financing, America's home for home loans. Take advantage of a free no-obligation mortgage review and be one step closer to hundreds, maybe even $1,000 in monthly savings. It really is possible because their expert mortgage consultants look at your entire financial picture, finding every way to help you save. You could even postpone 2 mortgage payments. So what are you waiting for? It takes as little as 10 minutes to start, and you can pre-qualify for free by calling 866-886-2026. That's 866-886-2026. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net. That's AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Next segment, we're going to be talking to a member of the legislature here in California. He's a farmer. We're going to talk to him about some of the water issues, the expected drought, the expected fire season, global warming, and the argument that global warming people say that cow emissions are causing harm to the environment. All of this and more, 888-971-SAG. I was on this morning on the Joe Piscopo show out of New York.
Larry Elder, he's an all-star, nationally syndicated radio talk show host. You see Larry absolutely everywhere. He is a friend, and I'm proud to call this gentleman my friend. He's a great guy, a great patriot, and so proud to have him on the show. Larry, welcome back to the program, my friend.
Super Joe, always nice to be here. Talk me out of this insane thing that I may very well leave into. Talk me out of it. Oh, my goodness.
You know, I'm talking to you last week, and I'm saying this, and you're so good on the radio, man. You know I love you, but I'm not stroking you. But you're so good on the radio. You bang, bang. People call me.
No, stroke. I love stroke. Please.
We don't blow smoke, but you are so great, and you're quick, and everybody goes, Larry is great. Gosh, Larry Elder's great. Boom, 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 boom. And I tell them how we hang out and the conversations we have and the good time we have, for crying out loud. Then I talk to Tom Del Picaro right after you. Wait, when Larry Elder runs for governor, I go, he never mentioned war word one to me. You're buddy. You never mentioned Episcopo. What? You forgot about me in Jersey, Larry. What do you think?
Here's the deal. Here's the deal, Joseph. No kidding. I am inching towards making an announcement. It'll probably be early next week if I decide to do this. And right now, I'm just listening to people, and I'm asking people to drop me a line at larryaelder@gmail.com. larryaelder@gmail.com. Just let me know what you think. Do you think I ought to do this? Do you think I have a bigger platform doing what I'm doing right now? And I'm hearing from people. Just listen to stories. The election, if I do this, Joseph, takes place on September the 14th. It's a two-part deal. The first is you go in and you ask yourself, do I want Governor Gavin Newsom recalled? If he's recalled, the second question is, who do you want to replace him? And there are a number of Republicans who've jumped in, some of whom have bigger name recognition than I do, most notably Caitlyn Jenner. But aside from that, I think I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been talking about California issues for 30 years. I'm up and down California. I'm in the market in Sacramento. I'm in the market in the Bay Area, in Riverside, in LA, of course, in San Diego. So I've got pretty high name recognition. And so many people have approached me, Joe, and said, we got to do something about this guy. I mean, this is a guy who, as you know, was in the French Laundry, one of the most expensive restaurants, not in California, in the country, running up a tab. Somebody told me of $30,000 with the very lobbyists, get this, Joe, with the very lobbyists who set forth the mandates that they were violating. They were not socially distancing. They were not wearing a mask, and they had just told everybody to shut down because of the coronavirus because of the coronavirus, and completely ignoring their own mandates. It infuriated people, and that's one of the reasons why over 2 million people signed a petition to recall this guy. Something like 25% of them were Democrats. This is across lines. And some of the stories I'm hearing, there's a football coach in Oakland, Joe. Yeah. He has mostly black players. And many of these kids have no fathers. You know, I've talked about that being the number one problem in the black community, the absence of fathers. And he says, please don't shut us down. I'm giving these kids structure. I'm their father figure. Well, they didn't care. They shut down the whole program for a year, and 2 other players got into trouble with the law, one of whom is going to do time for years. Would not have happened had they been listened to, because these kids really needed this structure. Another guy told me about wage and hour laws in California. You're guilty until you're proven innocent. Guy operates a restaurant. Somebody files a claim for $65,000 in overtime that he wasn't getting.
We'll get back to that in just a second.
All across America, The Larry Elder Show.
Hey, Larry, this is Steve calling from Birmingham, Alabama. Just watch you on the Hannity Show. I support you. Don't live in California, but I support you 1,000%. We need someone with integrity, honesty, and common sense in this nation, particularly bringing California back. Go for it. 100,000% behind you.
I fully support you. Run. Save California.
My husband and I are all for you running for California governor. Go, Larry, go.
Hi, Larry. This is Tom out of Ohio. I'm one of your biggest fans. I'm absolutely thinking you should go ahead and run for governor in California. You'll be a great governor. Appreciate all you do. God bless you, and be well.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Later on, we're going to talk to a member of the Recall Gavin Newsom Committee. His name is Tom Del Beccaro. We're also going to be speaking with Leo Hanian of UCLA. He's done a lot of research on real estate prices in California, claims that because of the rules, regulations, many of them by the environmental whack jobs, the average price of a house is almost 50% higher than it ought to be. Now, speaking of dealing with the people in the California legislature, my next guest has been doing that for a long time. Served in the California State Assembly, later served as California's 25th Secretary of State. He is a second-generation California rancher and farmer, and we thought we'd have him on to talk about some of the environmental, water, fire issues going on in this state. Please welcome to the program, Mr. Bill Jones.
Thank you, Larry.
Bill, do we give you love on the program or what?
Well, we're happy to be on.
Bill, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Bill, as you know, I'm giving strong consideration to entering this race. I'm going to make an announcement in the next few days, one way or the other. One of the big issues that since I'm a Southern California kid born in the city, that I know very little about are the water issues, the farming issues. I know that a lot of farmers are very upset about water rights. It's complicated. There are a bunch of boards that ration out the water. I want you to kind of give us a primer on how it works with water in this state.
Okay, Larry. Well, I'm happy to do that. My family's worked on water issues in California for 3 generations. My father was involved with Ronald Reagan, who built the aqueduct that brings water to L.A., and the pumps up in the Delta, Northern California, are named after him because of that work. Wow. Today in California, we're living off the infrastructure that my father built and my grandfather worked on, and since the last, mid-'60s, we've been unable to get a consensus to do what the last generation did, which is build for the future. We built a system and facilities for $20 million. Now we have $40+ million. And what happened, the way the system was designed, was that the water that comes from the north and goes to the south was allocated based on, first goes to the urban areas, second goes to ag and the environment. Because in drought periods, that's the tiering of the water so that people get the water first in the urban areas. Well, that's a fine system, and that's the way it should be. However, it was never considered that we would stop building construction of new facilities like we've done the last 40 years and just live off the past infrastructure. So the problem we have today is that when you hit these drought periods, there's not enough storage. We have had a number of measures to build additional storage, but we always run up against the extreme environmental community that really it's not about the water. It's about their effort to stop growth in California. And in stopping growth, they end up in drought periods basically making everybody suffer. And it's the same with electricity, no nuclear power plants. You know, we're ending up living off Arizona and Nevada for power that we need during peak periods, and that's why they're talking about, don't plug in your electric car because we may have blackouts. So, these kinds of concepts that limit people's ability to grow and expand and have government interfere with the marketplace is what's hurt agriculture, and it's also hurt just the average person because it drives up the cost of tomatoes. California grows most of the tomatoes that are grown in this country. Almonds the same way. And you have to have a diversified economy in California if you want to be successful. We can't do it without water.
My guest is Bill Jones, serving the California State Assembly, later on California's 25th Secretary of State. Bill, why can't Republicans make this argument? Nobody likes the idea of higher prices because the water is so expensive. Nobody likes the idea of brownouts. Why haven't we been able to win the argument against these environmental greenies? Well, I tell you, Larry, it's a great question. I mean, I worked on these issues in the 90s, in the 80s, and what happens, and more recently, just not to go back historically, but more recently, as of the last few years, there was a tremendous effort on a bipartisan basis, actually, in Congress to move forward some additional storage in California, and it was stopped by Sacramento, the Newsom administration, and, a lack of push by the legislature to really get behind building additional storage facilities. We funded ample number of dollars into bonds in California. It goes into everything but additional storage. So I'm not being it's not strictly a partisan issue. As I said, we had some support back east, Democrat and Republican, to get something done, and Governor Newsom's administration stopped it because of this no-growth attitude. Mm-hmm. Bill, I think what also happens is people get up in the morning, they take a shower, they turn on the tap, the water's there. So What's the problem? Well, and that's true. And the problem there, too, is again, I don't want to get off the water issue, but you're going to have the same problem with power. You go flip on the switch, and if the power goes on, you don't think anything about it. If it doesn't go on, it's a grave concern. And I can tell you back in 2000, I ran for governor in 2000 and against Gray Davis, and he got later beaten in the recall. But that recall and his loss in that election was partially due to the blackouts we had at that time, because even then we were not building for the future when it comes to infrastructure. And so a drought is something that happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's an external event, but you have to build for those kind of problems in a state as diverse and important as California. And if you don't,
you're going to be in a situation where you catch people off guard.
Mm-hmm. Bill Jones, please don't go away. I want to talk to you when we come back about a number of things. I'm looking at a state like California. I'm looking at a country like Israel that I visited. Israel, as I understand it, is almost 100% water self-sufficient because of desalination plants that are near the Mediterranean. We've got a little body of water known as the Pacific Ocean. Why in the hell is California experiencing water shortages? And given all these eggheads we have in Silicon Valley, why haven't we been able to innovate our way out of our energy problems, and why are we having brownouts in this state? I want to talk to Bill Jones about both those issues in just a second. So please, Bill, please don't go away.
It's the Sage, Larry Elder.
Ain't nothing in the world that I like better than bacon and lettuce and homegrown tomatoes. Up in the morning and out in the garden, get your ripe one, don't get a hard one.
America, we have a country to save. And now, here's Larry Elder.
This is Harry, and I just want to say I approve. Please run. We need you.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. I'm trying to get Mr. Jones to stay beyond just this segment, hopefully maybe 15 minutes or so in the next segment if he'll do it. He is the former member of the California State Assembly. He also ran, as you heard him say, for governor. He also ran for Senate. His name is Bill Jones. We're talking about environmental issues, water issues, power issues. As I was saying, Bill, I just read a piece about how water self-sufficient people are in Israel. They built desalination plants on the coast near the Mediterranean. We have a little body of water known as the Pacific Ocean. How come we're not doing the same thing?
Well, there is some of that being done, but what happens as usual, as you mentioned a minute ago, when people have water and there's not a drought, the demand goes away. When the drought comes back, we say exactly what you said. Well, how come we haven't done it so far? The other problem is the standards, the water quality standards. There's very stiff standards on what you could put back into the Pacific Ocean. And one of the problems we have with getting water from northern to southern California is the standards in the Delta. When I say standards, I mean the different particulates that are in the water, which we want to make sure that clean up before it goes south. But the problem is they keep reducing the standards to a point where you can't move anything, and it's another reason why they use that as an excuse to send water out the Golden Gate rather than moving it south. I mean, you could treat water and make it drinkable, portable water, but if you're looking at a concern about the Endangered Species Act, different reasons why people don't want to send water south or even collect water in storage, goes back to this whole growth issue. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm saying, I think you brought it up very, very well, Larry, that, the extreme environmental community has done a huge amount of damage to the state. I was just listening here to a congressman in the Central Valley talking about nuclear power. Part of the reason we're going to have a potential blackouts is because they're shutting down the nuclear plant here in the Central Coast, just like they did the one down south. And, that is one of the cleanest sources of power. So when you look at power, when you look at water, when you look at electricity, and you look at, and you mentioned initially the fires in the mountains. We didn't take care of the forests. There was no effort to try and clean them up and keep them in a condition where they wouldn't catch fire. And now we've had these terrible fires. So if the government's not going to allow a good management and husbandry of the resources, whether it be the soil, the water, the power, or the forest, you're going to have problems, and that's where California is today. And it's tragic because it's not necessary at all.
Bill, can we get you to stick around for one more segment?
Sure.
Bill, please don't go away. When we call back, I'm going to talk to you about this war on new nuclear power plants, and also what is the state of play for Republicans here in California. Not a single one elected statewide. And it's not because Bill Jones wasn't a good candidate. Republicans are outnumbered, registered almost 2.5 to 3 to 1, Democrats versus Republicans in California. Why? Bill Jones, don't go away.
Only two things and money came by.